I don't think it's going live there. Okay. I will have to do it differently here. It's just, how do you go live? Live video. I'm not sure. I'm just going to leave that to do its thing. Okay. Hello to anybody who's here with us. Please do let me know if you're on Instagram as to whether you can see us, because I'm not sure whether that's actually going live.
I'm on the web Instagram version, and it doesn't look like you're going live.
Oh, well, I will try that once.
But then I'm on the web version. I'm not sure if it would be different.
Yeah, no, I think it would be the same. It's got ticked. Let's have a little look. Oh, it says you are live. Oh, that's weird.
It probably is the web version.
Okay. Yeah.
I lost my phone about 15 minutes ago, and instead of getting stressed out about not finding it, I just decided I don't need it. It's fine.
No. It's all good. So, hello and welcome. I am Emily. I'm the Coucher. I am an astrologer, a tarot card reader, and moon lover. My aim is to help you manifest your dreams into reality using the divine timing of the lunar cycle. And any products I sell within my shop and readings as well, they're all lunar, affirmation, and zodiac based. And I am joined today with the lovely Rhiannon. Let me introduce her properly. So, my beautiful guest, Rhiannon. Oh dear, no, Emily. Breathe. I apologise. Rhiannon Okoye. I do hope I pronounced it correctly. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, yoga teacher, healer, and retreat facilitator with over 10 years of experience. Her daily yoga practice led her to explore the world, sharing yoga, healing, and deepening her gifts and studies. And she now facilitates transformative sessions and events that connect people to their hearts, and through that connection, bridge the unseen. So welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. This is so cool. And for anyone who doesn't know, we kind of met through my friend Luke, who's got a wellbeing centre. So shout out to LB Life and his community as well, if anybody should see us from there.
We did our kids yoga training together. That's where I met him.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. We'll delve into yoga in a bit, but let's just have a little look at some things. So first of all, do you know your zodiac or sun sign at all?
Yes, I'm first degree of Gemini, so right on the Taurus Gemini cusp.
Oh, you're a Gemini as well.
Are you a Gemini?
Yes, I am Gemini sun, I'm Gemini rising, and I have a Capricorn moon.
Love it. I feel like podcasts make so much sense when it's Geminis hosting.
I know. Yes, exactly. I'm going to talk for England. So tell me about your journey then. How did you go from just generally growing up to being interested in the spiritual world of things, or whether it's yoga or hypnotherapy? What came first?
Well, it's an interesting thought, actually, because in my childhood, I was deeply spiritual. I had connections to the angels. I was able to see things that not everybody could see. I would have frequent dreams that would come true. I remember my mum would get so fed up with old ladies coming up to her saying, "Oh, your daughter's an old soul." And my mum would be like, "What are you talking about? She's a baby. She's new. She's not old." and things like that. So as a child, I was deeply, deeply connected. I remember my parents would change their plans sometimes based on dreams that I would have, because they would come true often and warnings would come through in my dreams and things like that. And then life happened, and I suppose I forgot who I was, and I was just a regular person. And then I became a regular depressed person in my late teens. And my journey really led me back to spirituality through being incredibly depressed, feeling incredibly alone. I left my engineering degree to go off with a 4.5 kilo backpack. And I was just very determined to figure out how to exist in a world that had, up until date, made me feel so alone. And I think that is the story with healers in general. If they do not act in purpose with what it is that they are supposed to be doing in this world, then they find themselves lost, and they find themselves depressed, and they find themselves longing for something. So that's what I did. I took a one-way flight to Costa Rica with a 4.5 kilo backpack. And I just made a promise to myself to figure out how to survive in this world that had made me feel so alone. And that journey took me to over 45 countries. And I studied with shamans and with the yogis, and through Western psychology, and more recently hypnotherapy. And hypnotherapy really was, I would say yoga was the thing that saved my life. The hypnotherapy was the part that connected all of the other parts. It was like watching one of those art videos where they pour resin onto something and it just connects all of the moving parts. And all of a sudden I had language to explain what I'd felt energetically, but didn't quite have words to. And it linked my scientific background. I studied engineering, and with the yoga and with all of this, and all of a sudden I realized that science and spirituality were not different things. It was just different languages to explain a lot of what we do know and so much of what we do not know. And so that was really incredible for me to finally feel as though I didn't have to choose one path, that actually my path was very multifaceted, and to just allow myself to be that multifaceted person as a result of it has opened up so many incredible opportunities that I could have only dreamed of before.
There's so much to unpack there. That's beautiful. So, oh my goodness, 45 countries. Was there a favorite one, or one that impacted you most? Or
it's so hard to say. But some do scream out. India, for sure. I feel as though you could spend a whole lifetime in India and only just scratch the surface. And the funny thing is that I couldn't stand India for the first 2 weeks. I thought, oh my goodness, I'm not going to survive. I'm here for 3 months. I'm going to die. But then all of a sudden there was just this kind of clarity. It was like a veil removed itself. And all of a sudden I could see the order in the chaos, and how things had to happen in the way that they had to happen. And a peace kind of just overcame me. And India really did change everything for me. Other countries that scream out, Costa Rica, of course. I would say that Costa Rica is one of my spiritual homes. My yoga family live in Puerto Viejo in the Caribbean coast. It's an amazing place. Nature brought me back to life in Costa Rica. The abundance of fruits and vegetables, and just the nature, and the sloths. I used to have to help sloths cross the road almost every week.
That's really weird. Sloths crossing the road. Why does the sloth cross the road?
I know.
Oh my goodness.
Because they can't. They're really bad at it. They should just not.
Oh, no.
No. You just have to pick them up, and they just don't even move. They just stay still, and then you just put them on the tree, and they grip onto the tree, and then they slowly look at you, and they give you this big stoned smile, and you're like, you're welcome.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah, and then they just go off about their business again. And other countries. Well, I have to say Mexico. I love Mexico so much. I actually am based in Mexico right now. I'm just in London for a couple of weeks to visit my family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you just came back from a retreat or something in Mexico, didn't you? Is that right? Or was it a holiday?
I'm teaching a retreat in Mexico in a few weeks, which is why I'm going back. But I was just on holiday with my family this time around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So you also said some very things I can really resonate with. So, I mean, I've made it no secret that I also struggled with depression in my early years as well. And as you say, a lot of healers have been in low roads, as it were, and found yoga or spiritual practices have helped to bring them out the other side. Yeah, that's something that's a lot of people struggle with. I mean, what was the main kind of thing for you that kind of brought you back through? Was it the yoga or was it something else? I'm sorry. If you don't want to talk about it, it's totally fine. We can.
No, it's just an interesting question because there are so many different aspects. I'm just trying to simplify my answer for the listeners. But I would say the thing that really brought me back was understanding that though I was experiencing a depression, that I was not depressed, that wasn't my label anymore. So once I kind of freed myself from being a depressed person, I was able to kind of invoke a space of being an observer. And so with that space of observing, I was able to realize that certain parts of me were living in the past. And it was through hypnotherapy that I realized that you need to go to the past sometimes, but it doesn't need to be your reality. It doesn't need to be where you live your life, but you need to go to the past purely to figure out what is stopping you from meeting your present day needs. So having that kind of updated understanding of what depression actually is was the thing that made me come through, because through my practice, I've seen maybe 200 depressed people now as a hypnotherapist. And I don't think any of them were depressed. I've seen people who have present day needs that they haven't met yet, you know? And so what if you're living in the past so as to understand why you're unable to meet those present day needs? You can just be there for a moment. And that's what a hypnosis gives you. It gives you the ability to be able to go back. You regress, you go back to a scene from your past, and you don't have to live in that scene. You just go back to learn, to resolve. You figure out why that thing that happened 10, 20, 30 years ago is stopping you from meeting your present day need. And then you can fast forward to the future without that shackle from the past anymore. And so that is really the message that I spread here. It's depression is a gift. It is not a place that you're supposed to live, but it is a place where you're supposed to learn and you're supposed to see and you're supposed to take what you need to take so that you can be catapulted into your future, into your purpose, into the reason that it is that you're here. And so having that idea of what depression is, all of a sudden doesn't seem like a bad thing anymore, does it? It's something that is okay for a season, but maybe it doesn't even have to be a season. Maybe it could simply be for a moment if you have the tools to be able to go back and forth. And I often say that I am a time traveling superhero, and my clients feel like time traveling superheroes too, when they just get to go back to that exact moment from their past where they need to learn something or install something new, and therefore their future is greatly improved and they're able to just look forwards, because we can't go in two directions. The mind has to either be looking forwards or it's looking backwards. You can't go both. You just spin in circles, and spinning inside of a circle is very exhausting.
Wow. So that leads us really nicely on to what is hypnotherapy, and you kind of explained a bit about what a session might look like, but you can expand by all means, so go for it.
Yeah, so hypnotherapy, the state of hypnosis, really is a very natural state. And for any of my meditators out there, you'll recognize it instantly. And from a neuroscientific point of view, in an MRI, the same pathways are showing up if you're in a deep meditative trance or if you're in a hypnotic trance. I would say really the only difference is that when you're meditating simply for the purpose of stillness and presence and observing. Whereas with hypnosis, you go into that same state, but you go into that same state with a goal, with an aim, with a purpose. So you can already see, I know that you're a meditator, how that could be so unbelievably useful, because when you are in this state, you are heightened to be able to accept positive suggestions. The conscious mind is quieted and the subconscious mind is rife, and you can use that to your advantage. So it's just leveraging that natural state in order to up level and to overcome.
Wow. I was going to ask that actually. I did think when you're in the deep state of meditation, or if you're asleep, it probably is kind of a similar feeling that actually you're in a position where time feels like it's sort of suspended a little, and you feel like you've got more time to be able to focus and regroup and tap into your intuition or your higher self or whatever. So that sounds really quite impressive. So then how do you use that, and what kind of clients come your way?
Well, I work with a lot of women. I work with a lot of women who are dealing with painful periods or just kind of feeling out of balance, low moods, women who feel as though they're missing a trick and not really experiencing their full magneticism or experiencing their full purpose. And but I work with people with all sorts. I work with people who are overcoming addictions. I work with people who want more confidence, who want to overcome their visibility issues. I help people overcome their abundance blocks. And the thing is that it doesn't seem to matter what it is that the person comes to me with, but there is one thing that they all have in common. And that is really the thing about my practice that I'm the most proud of, because it doesn't matter what the presenting problem is. And there's always going to be a problem, new level, new devil. There's always going to be something. But underneath that is the desire to show up using their gifts and talents, their birthrights, to make this world a better place. And that is just something that I'm so grateful for every second of every single day, because they come to me for that, so that makes me feel as though I'm doing something right in the world. And so if I can give permission to just one person listening to overcome whatever limiting belief, whatever pain point, whatever ache or pain that's stopping them from really showing up and living in their full voice and their full truth and their full power, is just such an unbelievable gift. So that's what I put out into the world, and that's what I see come back through my practice.
So are there any small tips for people just to kind of dip their toe in the water before potentially working with you, that they could do from their own home?
Yeah. So I always try to convince my clients of the powers of their own mind. And it's easy to convince them because their minds are incredible. And you can do this in real time. So if ever you're having a thought that doesn't match where it is that you're wanting to go, for example, you could just be sitting in traffic, like, oh, this traffic, it's so annoying. Did that thought make you feel good? Just feel in, like, how did that thought make you feel? And if that thought doesn't make you feel good, if it's not leading you into the direction of happiness, which is what we all want, we all just want to be happy, then how can you reframe that thought in real time? So, oh, this traffic, it's so annoying. Instead, it could be like, I'm sitting in traffic. I have 10 minutes to be by myself. I have 10 minutes to listen to that podcast, or I have 10 minutes to listen to my favorite song, or I have 10 minutes to go through something in my mind that I've been putting off. So it's just like, how can you in real time reframe a negative thought into a positive thought, and then to just observe the way that that makes your body feel. And sometimes reframing the positive thought isn't going to make you instantly feel good. And that could be for a couple of reasons. It could be because, one, it's not familiar yet. And the human mind really is completely wired to hold on to what is familiar, even if what is bad is familiar. It's designed to keep you safe and to keep you into what's familiar. So if that's an unfamiliar thought for you, if you're wired into thinking negatively, or if actually you have an addiction to suffering, which is something that people don't often realize that they have, then thinking positive thoughts is going to feel very strange in the beginning because it's not familiar yet. But that could also be because there is some resistance that you need to breathe through. But feelings of resistance really can be moved through very quickly if you just observe them. You observe that there is some resistance there. You take 3 deep breaths and you can verbally or in your mind say out loud, I am releasing resistance to X, Y, or Z. And again, observe the energetic and emotional effects that it has on the body. It's just to become completely aware in real time how every single thought, how every single word is affecting you in real time. Because once you can do that, you can really become a miracle worker and you can make magic happen, because we are vibrational beings and everything we do has a frequency. And if we can be a frequency to that thing that we want, good health, that job or whatever it is that you want, and you can hold that frequency in, then all of a sudden that thing is really in your essence. It's really there. It's something that you can just, like an apple, you can just pick it from the tree. Whereas if you're not a vibrational match to that thing, then it's like you're chasing something. It's something that's always just a bit out of reach, a bit unattainable. And the way that you close that gap is by becoming vibrationally aware. I don't know if that answered your question. That wasn't a small tip. That was a whole monologue.
I think it did, because that will resonate on so many different levels. Because yes, I didn't realize, I guess it's kind of like a form of self-hypnosis that I did to get out my depressive years. Because before there was the likes of Gabby Bernstein writing about choosing the next best thought, I was doing that for myself in my own bedroom. No therapy, nothing, just journals that I eventually ripped up and threw away. Years and years of those. And apart from that, it was, the world beats me up enough. I'm going to stop beating myself up. And each time, as you say, there's a thought that's not kind or could be deemed negative or unhelpful. It was, okay, well, maybe I can choose the next best thing. And then it's choose the next one, choose the next one. And eventually, then I use things like gratitudes lists, which I actually sell one in my shop if anybody wants to buy one. But also, like, you know, writing things out, and meditating is a huge one, and movement. It doesn't have to be yoga, which I do every morning actually, but it doesn't have to be any kind of movement, and walking outside, or generally just giving yourself time out, like you were saying about, can you use those 10 minutes to basically feel good in some way. It doesn't have to come straight away, and it's not going to be instant. It would just be a case of, can you actually go there and give yourself the opportunity to feel that little bit better, and give yourself quality self-care, whatever that may be and however that looks for you. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is so cool. And it's honestly the biggest thing that I realize when I come back to the UK. Although I had 2 weeks of getting myself used to British people again, because we were in an all-inclusive for 2 weeks before I flew back to London with my family. And that is the biggest difference, I would say, between Mexican culture and British culture. Mexicans tend to see the positives of things. Whereas I don't want to generalize, but it's hard to sometimes. My point is that when complaining is something that you have done for a lot of your life, because your mother complained a lot and her mother complained a lot, it is something that you are not just having to correct on a thought by thought basis. It's something that's going to have to go down to the cellular level, because we inherit these things. You know, our thoughts, feelings, and actions actually alter our DNA. And this has now completely changed the way that we think about genetics. Before, it was thought that you would die with the same genetic code that you were born with, but epigenetics says something differently. And epigenetics is a fascinating field if anybody wants to do some more research into that, which is that really every thought, every experience, every trauma is really changing you on the cellular level, and that's changing your DNA. And if you're a complainer, you're going to be passing that complaining gene on to your children. Is that what you want? So if it isn't, then you have a big responsibility, not just to yourself, but for the generations that come after you. And it's an amazing thing, because if traumas can be passed down, then healing can also be passed down. And so for me, as a cycle breaker, That's something that I ask every single day. What is it that I'm passing on? What will my legacy be? What will my children, my future children, be benefiting from as a result of me taking the time to get to know myself on this deep level and choose more for myself, choose more health, choose more wealth, choose more happiness, choose more experiences. Just have this belief that everything is figure outable. And I want my children to feel the same. I don't want them to be plagued by their problems. I want them to feel as though their problems are opportunities for growth or something that they need to learn or something, an opportunity to learn something new and allow that to excite them rather than overwhelm them.
Do you have children?
No, not yet.
Not yet. But children that you know and potential for the future. That's really cool anyway. But yeah, that is very much the topic of Capricorn, actually. It's leaving a legacy. It's being that goat, as it were, that's very slowly and steadily climbing the mountain and leading by example and really being purposeful and knowing that if they're patient, the rewards at the top of the mountain are going to be not just amazing for them, but amazing for other people. And it's really, really cool. You just sort of demonstrated the whole theme of the season that we're in at the moment. So that's really cool.
I love that so much. And that's how I use astrology. I use astrology to reinforce the decisions that I'm already making in real time, because I don't like to believe that I need anything other than my mind, body, and spirit. And then I use astrology to validate what it is that I'm doing. I'm always like, okay, my spirit is connected to the vastness of our cosmos, and that's reflected back to me through astrology, and it all just makes me feel like it's all so aligned, and it's also easy and so amazing. I used to go for astrological readings when I was like not in my center, and I feel like for me, that would sometimes spin me in an even greater circle. But when you are at your center and then you're able to see that you being in your center and leading out from your center is exactly aligned with what the planets are saying at the same time, then that is so medicinal for me, so much magic. And I just love all the astrologers that surround me. I'm like, tell me I'm doing things right, please.
Exactly. It's like, well, you've got this inner knowing and you're going outside, and in my case it's like there's a robin singing, it's like in my head I'm like, thank you very much. And then this something beautiful happens in front of you, like, thank you very much, I must be on the right path. Just all these little things, or somebody says something and you've been thinking about it, you haven't told a soul, and then suddenly it's reflected somewhere in the social media as well. Like, I can't ignore this. So obviously something I was doing here, other people need to know about, because actually it's a connection to spirit and higher purpose of some variety. And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
If you listen, you just take those few minutes to listen, the world sort of shows you more to actually find more abundance in your life. And you say like the wealth and everything else, it's just like, yeah, it's amazing.
I love it so much. I just feel like these energies, and you'll probably be able to explain them better than I have. You have the whole language of astrology at your disposal, but the world just seems more receptive to the acknowledgement of themselves as spiritual beings and energetic beings, and the relationship that we have with the stars and all of these things that move through us that are bigger than us, that we're also a part of. I'm not sure if these conversations would have been so well received 5, 10, 15 years ago, but now it's becoming mainstream culture, and it's just so incredible. And it just links me back to the thought that I've always had, that for us to be able to thrive as a species, we have to go back to what our ancestors knew. We have to go back to the ancient future, as I like to call it, and remember things that have been lost. And I was just meditating in some Mayan ruins, and that was a download that really, really came through for me. It was just remember what your ancestors have lost and speak about them and tell stories and create modern myth and bring storytelling back in a way that really we're losing. But I think social media and TikToks and all of this short form content is helping us become storytellers again. And so that is something I'm really grateful for with this age of technology.
Yeah. It's interesting because although we have what feels like at times more and more disconnection because a lot of what we're doing becomes online, we then find more of the connection online, which we're actually missing. As long as you're trying to balance some of that connection in person as well, and you don't feel like you're lost the elements and the timing that astrology or spiritual guidance in any way, shape, or form connects you with. So there's always going to be the elements that are without and the elements within. So it's the whole hermetic principle of as above, so below, as within, so without, as the body, so the soul. And right. That's what a lot of astrological workings are built on, because ancient times, years and years ago, there were people that would look to the skies to guide them. And I mean, there is all these different theories as to the biblical story of like Christmas, of like following a star. Were they actually following the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction? Were they actually following all these other little things? And it's was it actually that we should have had the solstice as Christmas Day? And was it the rise of the sun? Not the son of particularly necessarily of God or spiritual, whatever. Was it that they couldn't explain it, so they thought it was a person rather than the actual sun, and the length of the day or the length of the night changing? And how on earth do you explain that? And all these things have been like big miracles, and people have written them down in lots of different ways. And whether you believe that God or spirit is a person, or whether you believe it's an energy, or however you believe, and that is your right, because we are all spiritual beings having a human experience. But it's a case of, well, actually, there is always something. There's always something out there that's guiding us, and it's however you choose to see it and however you tap into it. Is it just you and your subconscious, or is it something outside of you and your connection to it? I mean, yeah, we're connected to the moon from waters that it pulls on the tides, and the waters that it pulls within us, in our blood, and what keeps us going. But we're also connected to the sunlight, because very little life would actually be apparent without the sun. And that's what brought us into the world and what keeps plants, animals, everything alive. So it's like we are in this little spiritual clock of the sun and the moon and the circadian rhythms or cycles of basically being and waking and sleeping and everything. And it's just magical. So yeah, I've got off on my little rant now. I'm done.
No, I love it. And when I was hearing you speak, the words neti neti came to mind. And in Sanskrit, neti neti means everything and nothing. So it's the everythingness and the nothingness, and the intertwinement of both of those things. We can never really truly know, and that's the exciting part of life.
Yeah. It'd be boring if we all knew we were going to be here at this point and we're going at that point, and is there nothingness, or is there something after we're gone? Who knows? But if we just knew our whole journey mapped out, where would be the excitement and the transcendence? Is that the right word?
Yeah.
And progression and everything else. Anyway, after pondering the meaning of life, let's get back to a little bit more of you. And so can you tell me about any struggles to success within your business? What you learned?
The business talks.
Yeah,
my goodness, so many, babe. It's not easy to run a business. Where to begin? So I am in my first year of running my business full time. Up until last year, I had a full-time corporate job and I was running my business on the side. And then I decided that I was going to quit my corporate job and be full-time in my business with with hindsight wasn't really the right choice to make. But at the same time, had I known what it would entail to run a business full time and to try and make these big dreams that I have a possibility, I don't know if I would have become overwhelmed, and I don't know if I ever would have made that leap. So I think it all does really happen in perfect timing. But I would say my biggest struggle has been not wanting to narrow down and niche down in a certain way, because I knew that there are so many different people out there who I want to help and who I want to reach. And my belief and understanding is that I can help anybody who resonates with me and who wants me to help them, you know? But at the same time, my work is online and I'm running an online business, and we have to figure out the algorithm. And the algorithm requires you to narrow down and to speak to a certain set of people so that they can push your content out to the right people. So it was just taking the time to really niche down into something that felt truly aligned, that also was going to excite me, that it would be something that I could focus on for the next however many years and not be bored, and create the biggest impact. And that's why I decided to, if you look at a lot of my socials, when I speak more broadly on podcasts, but if you look at my social media, I talk to women who were suffering from PCOS. And the reason that I chose that was because I healed PCOS myself. And I remember the doctor telling me that I would be something that I would be plagued with for the rest of my reproductive years. And I remember telling him that we'll see about that. We'll see. And I didn't really know why I said it. I wasn't well versed in practicing my intuition or speaking the voice of my soul at this time. In fact, it was just before I packed that bag and went to Costa Rica. But I did. I said, we'll see about that. I will heal this. This won't be something that. And the thing is, it did feel like life or death for me back then, because I couldn't continue living the way that I was feeling. So I just knew that I had to find another way. I couldn't deal with those symptoms every single day. So just having that propelled me. And it made me realize that there's something else could be possible for me. And the doctor sniggering at me and laughing at me and telling me to manage my expectations lit a huge fire underneath my ass. And I was like, well, we'll just see about that, won't we? And here I am 6 years later, completely PCOS free. But what I didn't know was that healing a chronic illness would actually just be such a propelling portal into endless possibilities. Because when you can heal something that they tell you cannot heal from, then you really are just unstoppable, because you're like, well, challenge me, tell me I can't do something then. And so I guess my business has also been an extension of that. A lot of people didn't understand what it is that I was trying to create. It's quite a new age of Aquarius thing to run a spiritual business from the jungles of Mexico from your computer. But I was like, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. And so I think with all challenges, the answer will become clear, and you have to practice patience in that time. It's to just wait until some clarity comes, until you know what the next step is. You don't need to know what the second next step is. You just need to know what the next step is, and then trust. And then the next step will kind of unfold. But if you have no idea what that next first step is, then just practice patience. Go inside, meditate, clear, remove resistances, and figure out what that first step is. And then trust that you'll know what the second step is when you're supposed to see it.
Beautiful. Oh, I think we got some love there, so I'm going to show it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the love.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just so beautiful. I'm at that position at the moment. I think we briefly discussed off camera that I've got a muggle job at the moment, so in the health service for my sins, as I always say. But I have actually gone through something kind of similar, in the sense that I was diagnosed with inflammatory bowel disease back in, I think it's 2010. And I've got to a point where doctors are deciding oh, well, we're going to put you back on more steroids, or we'll do this. Like, no, I know that steroids will actually destroy my body, and I'll be healing that for 10 years. So no. So technically I've been discharged, but I'm going down the alternative route, and not hypnotherapy, that's what we're talking about today. Homeopathy is the one that I've gone down, and my homeopath is amazing, and shout out to Homeopathic Al, very good. And yeah, so I am trusting my body, and I am doing more and more things that align to my passion and purpose, and that in itself is healing. That's what I found. So as long as you're actually listening to your body and listening to what lights you up, I feel you can't go wrong. So I mean, eventually I will be hopefully living in Madeira and sunning it up and being a full-time astrologer and tarot reader, and I will have done my yoga teacher training and be holding my own retreats. But let's hear a little bit more about your retreats. What do you hold for your retreats? And I know you said you've got one coming up in Mexico.
So the one coming up on the 10th of February, we have 2 spots left if anybody's interested. It will be amazing. I'm so excited. And here is the world is an amazing place. I 6 months ago would follow this lady on Instagram and just think this woman is amazing. Everything that she says I resonate with so deeply. I also felt deeply connected to her. And then one of my friends, who is an amazing practitioner, asked me to co-facilitate a retreat with him in Mexico. And we are going to be leading people through some wild dolphin swimming, some Lemuria and Syrian activations, obviously some movement and yoga. And then I learned recently that our 3rd and 4th co-facilitator are going to be those people from Instagram who I was admiring 6 months ago. So to see my face on the same materials as their faces was just like, you know what? It doesn't matter what you do, because that which is meant for you will find you. And so you never need to try that hard. You just need to stay aligned. So that's going to be an incredible retreat. It's going to be really amazing. Like, the group of facilitators on this retreat is just going to be maybe the most transformational retreat I've ever led. And I've been involved in facilitating retreats for the last 10 years now. So I'm just so excited with this. So much magic in one place. So that's in February. And then in April, I have another retreat in Ecuador, which is a yoga and co-working retreat. And there's a bunch of different workshops available. There's going to be all kinds of things. There's Qigong, there's various different movement going on. There's we're still perfecting the schedule right now, but I'm going to be leading some women's embodiment and some psychic embodiment and all kinds of things. It's a real mashup of magic happening over there in Ecuador too. And in the summer, we have another one coming up, which is all to do with small business owners and CEOs who are looking to up level. My business partner and I are creating a yoga retreat with all of this. So we offer complete mind, body, spirit, and business transformations. My business partner runs a 6-figure agency, and she runs it so well that doesn't need her anymore. So she's just turning her attention into consulting. And we have this amazing 3-month mentorship going on right now with that, where it's so amazing, because I think as a new business owner, you don't know where to invest. You don't know whether you need to invest in personal development, or if you need a better therapist, or who costs too much money, or if you, or if you need a breakthrough coach, or if you need a business coach, or if you need some social media consulting. You don't know what all of these things you need, and all of these things you're spending. Really, like, if you want the best, you're spending up to 50K for all of these things for like a month, 2-3 months. These things are not cheap. But with what we're offering, it's a one-stop shop for really everything that you could ever need, from the breakthrough coaching, to the subconscious limiting beliefs, to childhood trauma, to the tangible business implementation steps. And it's all really for a very accessible price. So if we have any small business owners out there who are thinking, I need that, then definitely get in touch. We'd love to hear from you for our 3-month mentorship and also for the upcoming retreat happening in August. Lots of things happening.
Yes. What exactly is Lemurian activation?
Okay, so it's where the mermaids come from.
Okay.
No,
Unusual. Oh, you're joking. Oh, I fell for it.
So it's the idea that water is very sacred, and you can tell water carries information, water carries codes. And if you were to study the molecular structure of water, you can actually tell exactly where it's been. So the way that we treat water as a species is very special and it's very important. And there is a lot of magic and medicine that comes from water. So it's just kind of really understanding what the water can teach us, what codes the water has. The water's always been on the planet. It's been on the planet longer than our oldest ancestor. And so it is respecting the wisdom that water has and learning how to use the codes that water has in order to activate us and elevate us spiritually.
That's interesting. I suddenly heard seagulls as you said water. I was like, what? That's really weird. The universe resonates clearly. There you go. We're talking about water. Let's bring some seagulls to prove that you're in Portsmouth.
There you go.
Yeah, I do think the water holds memories, and as you say, there's that link to ancestry and everything else within. So that's really cool. Yeah, there's just so many fascinating things that we're covering here.
I know. We could talk about it all.
I know. I think you've touched briefly on some of your achievements. Is there anything else you'd like to share there?
Well, now you're putting me on the spot. I feel like, honestly, let's just keep speaking. I feel like this is all an achievement. Like me being alive here today is an achievement. Me sharing the wisdom that I have to share is an achievement. Our interaction is an achievement. And I'm not very good at blowing my own trumpet in by way of like list all of your achievements, because I have a CV. If you want to see it, I'll just email it to you.
Fair enough. Okay. So I always ask people this: how do you manifest your goals into reality and stay consistent with goals that you have?
One that I do this, I have a monthly ritual where I check in with what my personal definition of success means. Is that something that is still aligned for me? Because otherwise I think we can get so lost. There's so much information out there telling you what you need to do and how you'll feel when you get it. And none of that means anything unless you're not following what your own personal definition of success looks like to you. So for me, I know what that looks like for me, and I check in with my pathway to success. Am I still taking the aligned steps for me to get to my perceived definition of success? And giving myself room for that to change and giving myself room for that to evolve. And more importantly, leaving space for the universe to surprise me with something even better than that thing that I thought I wanted. And I think that is a big part of manifestation, because it involves your faith and it involves your trust, and it also involves sometimes you're not even able to conceive the greatness that you were meant for. It's like you get to hike a mountain and you know that at the top of that mountain the view is going to be sensational, but you've never been there before. You have no idea just how sensational it is. But if you kind of box yourself in with an idea of how amazing the view is going to look, then you're boxed into a view of how amazing it's going to look. But if you just trust and you surrender and you climb that mountain anyway, you just get to be blown away by something even better. And so that is the most important thing for me, just leaving space to become identified with the way that I want to feel rather than the way I want things to look, and then just to allow that to happen. I never would have believed that I would be leading a Lemurian retreat with a woman from Instagram who I've like admired from afar. And now it's happening, and it happened so easily. I didn't have to do a single thing. In fact, I got invited to be there, and I'm just showing up to do what I do best. And that is what my personal definition of success looks like right now. It is just attracting, not chasing. It is to feel elevated, to feel magnetic, to feel powerful, to feel strong, to feel light in my heart, and to have the abundance to be able to call in the experiences that I want. And I will check in. Maybe that changes next month.
Wow. Yeah, heart bombs there. I was like, yes. There's just no words. Just see if there's anything else I wanted to ask you. I think we've kind of gone so deep here that I don't think there's much else I can pull upon. So maybe we should come to a natural close. And I would love to say thank you, of course, Rhiannon, for showing up and sharing your wisdom and your messages and your heart with us in a way. So, and by all means, you're welcome to stay on and talk privately for a bit if you want. But anything else that you would like to say to our listeners and where they can find you?
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Emily. I've loved this. This is how I like to live my life, just talking about the things that inspire and elevate. And thank you for giving me the platform to be able to do that today. You're a special person.
Oh.
People can find me. The best way to find me probably is through my Instagram, which is Rhiannon_hypnotherapist. Or you can send me an email at hello@rhiannonokoye.com. And I would just love to hear from you. I offer free 15-minute consultations. So if you resonate with anything that I've said, or if you have any pain points in your life right now that you feel are stopping you from really showing up as your best and healthiest, happiest self, then send me a message. I make magic happen, you guys, and you can be a part of that too.
Oh, amazing. Well, thank you, and we'll say goodbye to our listeners. So, bye.
Bye.